Kagurabachi chapter 117 is here. I am super excited to be getting back into covering Kagurabachi. I was covering it weekly, then kind of got a little bit too crazy and ended up not, covering it for a while, but I want anybody to know that has been here for Kagurabachi. I will be covering it weekly going forward, and then hopefully starting to mix in some discussion videos when I have additional time. So obviously part 1 concluded, and now we are in part 2, and it has begun with the Seitei War arc. So super exciting, finally getting the context around the Seitei War. This flashback should illuminate a ton of stuff for us and give us a lot of backstory, obviously, for a ton of major characters, even in the current timeline. So this chapter, specifically 117, should be should be very important so far. Obviously, I'm assuming it's going to be a bit of a dialogue-heavy chapter. We have the royal family or leaders of the island of Shokoku coming to meet with, I'm assuming it's going to be the Sorcery Bureau, the early version of basically the Kamonabi. They are going to be meeting on the shores of Irishima. Irishima is the island that is between where Shokoku came out of the ocean and the Chiba prefecture on the southeastern portion of Japan. And that's where the Datinseki ore is located after the big earthquake. So they're meeting on the shores of Irishima to discuss the mining of Datinseki. Obviously, we know where this is heading because we know the Seitei War does take place. So obviously negotiations break down. But I'm curious if it's going to be something that happens during this discussion, or is it one of those situations where negotiations are actually kind of going well, but then some extenuating circumstance happens that basically triggers the war. But that's just a little bit kind of off the top of my head. I'm curious to see how this is going to go. But without further ado, we're going to dive into the exploration for chapter 117. So also, I'm assuming because this chapter has to do with a lot of negotiation, there's going to be a fair amount of text. So I am going to be reading it. Haven't read it yet. So there may be times where I'm silent just for a little bit, but it's because I'm reading. I'm going to want to process it and then kind of talk about it as I go. So let's open up here. I can see Princess Chiaki and then some unknown person in the middle panel. So okay, it's talking more about the gift of, foresight that is passed down through the Soga lineage and how it's able to foretell impending national emergencies. Through fragmented images, it can predict the time and place of an event. Okay, so there are some limitations. She's not able to predict the number of casualties, specific damage, or any other major impact. Just more so date, time, this event is going to happen here. Okay, but the prophecies allowed people who were potentially going to be in harm's way to evade death and alter the outcome of the event. So makes me think, for example, if there was going to be an attack, like a terrorist attack in this location at this time, obviously the people that live in that area, you could evacuate them, thus allowing them to evade harm. And it would alter the outcome of the event. So that's very interesting. Okay, we see, again, some guy in this middle panel. I'm assuming this is a person from Shokoku. I guess we might see later on in the chapter. Chiaki here is saying that the upcoming meeting will be extremely hostile. So that's great. Obviously, they've been having conflict with the assassins of Shokoku. We don't know if they're actually assassins, but the assassins of Shokoku have been using basically like guerrilla warfare tactics on the island of Irishima to try to prevent the Japanese people from mining the Datinseki. Yep. So here it's explaining the fact that in the 2 years since the appearance of Shokoku, all the interactions that they've had with the people of Shokoku, they're all like skirmishes and basically shrouded in mystery because they only attack from a distance and they avoid direct engagement. Which is interesting because it's like if the people, from what we know, the people of Shokoku are able to actually harness the power of the Datinseki themselves without a conduit, and it doesn't destroy them like the temporary ones that Sojo created that have been used throughout the series by the Hishaku, because those are like a time limit that ends up tearing the person apart. But the residents of Shokoku seem to be able to withstand it, possibly indefinitely, but I guess we'll see. So we have a guy here in a wheelchair, missing both his feet. So okay, this is really interesting. So this double amputee, he's saying he was sent by the Sorcery Bureau to be like a security detail to accompany a government expedition of Irishima. And he was the first group dispatched since Shokoku arrived. And he says he was the first and the last person to fight them in close combat. He says we were this close, like just right to his hand. So they were up close and personal. He said, we never spoke, but when I saw them, I somehow knew they were Japanese. Which I'm just, how would you, I guess vibes, like vibes are a real thing in human biology. You can kind of like feel, you can feel when someone's like mad, you can feel if someone is like kind of similar to you. I guess that's something that you can just feel. And for some reason, he knew they were Japanese. But the island of Shokoku appeared out of the ocean. They said it's like a mutated thing of seaweed. And it really does look like when we got that image of when the boat was trying to obviously get to the island, we know there's the force field around it, so nobody can actually interact with it or get there. But it looked like a bunch of trees coming out of the water. It reminds me, if any of you have read or watched One Piece, it reminds me of like Sabaody Archipelago, the archipelago of all those trees. I mean, Japan itself is an archipelago. But that's kind of what Shokoku reminded me of. So if they came out of the ocean, like, how are they Japanese? Is there a hidden Japanese civilization underwater? Or is this some like weird time travel type of situation? I don't know. But maybe I'm gonna keep going because this is just I can tell it's gonna rack my brain for a while. So we cut to looking at this. It looks like a doctor or maybe some sort of guy with glasses. Okay, he says, an island suddenly appears in the southeastern seas that's secretly inhabited by Japanese. And he's saying that as a question. Okay, so this is a professor. Um, the person is saying that we only know that they appear to be Japanese, which is a good point. They might have some way to disguise themselves. The professor then says, I have a hunch. So let's see here. Oh, this is a really cool image right here. This is cool. It's like that old style. I've seen some like, I think paintings or drawings of like Miyamoto Musashi that look like this style of Japanese art, or I've seen them on like posters and stuff. This is really cool. So the story of the Soga clan. Ah, okay. So we're going back into what appears to be more antiquity. And we have Ukima Soga, maybe the old time head of the Soga clan. And then we have Mika Boshi, who looks like some sort of humanoid type creature. Not exactly sure what it is. Okay, we're getting a story here. Okay, so at least so far, the story is that long ago, it was more than 1,000 years back, there the land was ruled by a clan of sorcerers, and they were known as the Mikaboshi. The Soga clan defeated them, but to this day, sorcery remains a strong underground influence in our society, which, yes, that's been the whole story of Kagurabachi so far. And okay, this is the guy. What was his name? The guy from the Sorcery Bureau. He seems to be Shiba's like direct superior. Mashiro is Shiba's like little partner. I cannot remember this guy's name. I apologize. He's only been around for a couple chapters, and I think we've only seen his name like once or twice. So he's asking the professor, how is the story related? And okay, according to the legend, the Mikaboshi were driven into present day Chiba and wiped out, which is the prefecture that is between Irishima and where Shokoku popped up. Okay, so far, okay, so the professor is suggesting that they were driven to Chiba and they actually didn't get fully wiped out. They survived, and now they live on Shikoku, the descendants of the Mikaboshi. There's more. Okay, so now we're back to the original security detail sorcerer. He said they were extremely powerful. I was defeated with sorcery. They controlled something like insects. There are various accounts. Various accounts of the Mikaboshi, like they stand over 2 meters tall, or they have black claws. But the most pervasive story is that the Mikaboshi have the power to command insects. Okay, so what the professor is saying and what the guy who was actually there and combated against them is saying lines up. So the myth and the actual experience of this guy line up. So the evidence would point to it. What is super interesting that I thought of a few seconds ago, but I wanted to like finish that page, is that the Mikaboshi controlled something like insects. And as I'm sure most of you are also putting the connection together, is the fact that the Magatsumi, the Shinichi, created by Kunishige and wielded by Akimura Soga, all of the abilities of the Magatsumi are insects. So we see this image of like that old Mikaboshi type of sorcerer, and it looks just like Centipede, the ability of the Magatsumi that we've seen probably the most out of any ability from the Magatsumi. Centipede is the one we've seen the most. But Akimura is a part of the Soga clan, and the Soga clan were the enemies of the Mikaboshi. So I just thought that's really interesting. I don't know how that connects either, because Kunishige is the one that forged the Magatsumi, and he didn't necessarily intentionally, well, we don't know. I don't think we know. He didn't necessarily like pick the abilities of the enchanted blades. We know he forged N10 with the purpose of being able to destroy the other enchanted blades, but I don't know if he actually picked the abilities that they come with. So that's just really interesting that the descendant and the most powerful person in the series so far, Akimura Soga, is from the opposite clan of the Mikaboshi, but then he utilizes a sword, an enchanted blade that has insect abilities, like centipede, spider, dragonfly, bee. It's crazy. It's very interesting. So I'd love to hear kind of like what your thoughts, if there is a connection, or is that just this is really, okay. So this might be Shokoku, that the residents of Shokoku may be descendants of the once most powerful sorcery clan in Japan that were chased out by the Soga clan. Which then would also play into the fact that Akimura, when he talks about the malediction and wiping out the residents of Shokoku, he may also, if he knows about this ancient history, which I assume he does, he probably sees the Mikaboshi and the residents of Shokoku also has his clan's like eternal enemy. Because that's what he talks about when he says that I killed the enemy, like I took out our enemy. But it may not just be the enemy of Japan. He may be specifically saying the enemy of the Soga clan. So it may be even more of a personal vendetta as well. This is super interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry, that took me on a little tangent there. Okay. Whoa. Okay. All right. So the guy from the Sorcery Bureau, gosh, I wish I could remember his name. I wish the professor would just like say his name. But anyways, so he's saying that hypothetically, if the people of Shikoku were descended from the Mikaboshi, that they were driven off the land into the ocean where they lived and developed their own civilization for over a millennium, over 1,000 years. And the professor's like, well, that'd be impossible unless they were aided by a bizarre force beyond our understanding. Of course, the Detenseki. And he's like, well, we're looking at it. And the professor says that, well, I understand that that Detenseki exists on Shikoku. And the guy says, theoretically. And he says that they estimate that the vein of Irishima contains around, the vein of Detenseki on Irishima contains around 80 kilos. But when they calculate the total amount on Shikoku, they're basing it off the levels of radiation that the Detenseki emits. So in even accounting for the force field interfering with that, the reading that they're getting from the levels, there must be at least 1,000 kilos, over 10 times what is on Irishima. That is insane. That also might explain the fact why the residents of Shokoku themselves can actually withstand the Datinseki. My thought is like evolutionary biology, that if they were able to establish, because if that force field maybe somehow allows them to like live underwater, but if there's radiation that the Datinseki emits, then through generations of 1,000 years, these residents, these people, these Japanese people have been living on this island that is emitting radiation from this ore. And my thought is that over time, their bodies have adapted through the radiation emitted by the Datinseki on Shokoku, which then allows them to wield it without it destroying their bodies, because through the years in evolution, their bodies have actually adapted to the radiation that the Datinseki puts off. That's my just like bare bones initial theory. Let me know what you guys are thinking. But so I said about 10 times, looks like Shokoku has 12 times the amount of Datinseki found in Japan. That's what's really interesting though, is that if they have 12 times what is found on Irishima, why exactly are they so against? Like, why are they fighting for Irishima when that's only 1/12 of what they have on their own island? Or is it simply that they want to maintain a monopoly over the Datinseki so that when they potentially do decide to invade Japan, Japan cannot stand up to them without it. So they're trying to prevent basically them from obtaining a potential deterrent to their forces. That's my thought. So it looks like here that the professor is going to state his theory. So his theory, basically what we just said, is that the Mikaboshi's descendants are the inhabitants of Shokoku. Over the course of 1,000 years, they created their own civilization, aided by the Datinseki, a force beyond our understanding. Makes sense. It's kind of what we were just talking about there. Okay, we are now here at the appointed time of the meeting. We are on Irishima under the lone tree. We got 2 couches and a table. Japanese delegation arrived on Irishima in an ironclad ship. So we've got these gentlemen here. Looks like 2 probable sorcerers. They have swords. They're all wearing suits. And we got one man, nice hair, little mustache. Okay, the residents of Shokoku are not here yet. In the letter from Shokoku, this clinches it. It's them. It's their symbol. It's the symbol. It's the symbol of what looks to be the centipede in the corner. And that symbol apparently represents the Mikaboshi. So the professor's like, well, with that knowledge that it's the Mikaboshi, you're still going to proceed with the meeting? And this guy's basically like, yeah, like the prophecy warned that it would be a hostile, but that's even the more reason to forge ahead. Because if they refuse to talk, then literally the only option left is war. Like we got to go at least attempt diplomacy. So on behalf of the Sorcery Bureau, the best we can do is send the strongest defense detail we have. So what, these 2 sorcerers with the swords that are with this guy are the strongest? I have a weird feeling he just said that send the strongest defense detail that they have currently. I have a feeling. I don't know if it's going to happen, but this is usually what happens in these sort of scenarios to show like how outclassed like one side is. They're going to say that, oh, we've sent the strongest defense detail that we have. And my assumption is that these guys are going to get clapped. It's just, I have a feeling they're going to get clapped. And then it's like, oh, that was our strongest defense detail. What are we going to do? Because we know up until the introduction of the Enchanted Blades, Japan was losing. They were straight up losing. So this would establish these people as pretty crazy. But let's keep going. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be a fake out. What? This professor, he's just like straight up, he's like, I'm sorry, but I'll be leaving Tokyo. He's like, I'm out. Deuces. Because these people are coming back, which they got drove away for 1,000 years, and they are harnessing a force which we do not comprehend. I'm out. See you later. Yeah, because he goes on to say, like, the Mikoboshi, Shikoku, they've monopolized the Daitenseki for ages, and due to a geological phenomenon, the earthquake, the record earthquake, it caused it to surface on Japanese terrain. And he hypothesized maybe that the Daitenseki is a holy item to them, or they just don't want Japan to have it. So there's variable possible reasons, but at any rate, and we see the giant ironclad ship that the Japanese representatives came on is blown to smithereens with fire pluming up into the air. A clan that was once abolished has re-emerged wielding tremendous power. Absolutely, this is not good. I mean, we know we ended up winning, but it's only because we eventually wielded something even greater. Okay, let's turn the page. Okay, I'm gonna try not to. Okay, I'm gonna try to block the main double screen or double page spread, whatever we call it. I'm hyped. So they're looking back like, what? They've blown up. Oh, and we got 5 people that just showed up. 4 of them all look to be in somewhat of the same outfits, and then there's like a smaller one who looks to be maybe sitting on something. And then we see what looks like water, so the water behind them, based on the aggression we've experienced on Irishima. It's clear why they've come. And then we have they turn around in this weird, okay, we've got multiple dudes standing all wearing the same outfit with like this thing covering their face. And we've got literally a guy on like this older guy. Okay, so he was the one at the very beginning of the chapter that we saw Princess Chiaki, and then it was his like face. Okay, it's this guy. Clearly the leader of Shokoku and maybe the Mikoboshi. But then this thing like surfaced up from underneath, and it's got like the old school kind of like rope dangling from it, and it's kind of looks kind of like a crescent shape, but it has this hole in it. So I'm curious if whatever this is what actually blew up the ship that those guys came on. And I was right. I was right. I was right, at least. We come back, we're back, we're looking at super cool change in direction for this shot. Now we're above the 2 love seats and coffee table in the security detail. Just like I said, the strongest defense detail that the Bureau had are clapped. Done. Literally killed No issue whatsoever. And we've got this guy here. He looks really cool. So he's got the same black outfit with the white guards and his face is revealed, but he has the same like rope thing across, but he's got a little cool little shoulder thing. Love the design of this guy. He looks really awesome. But he has like cracks coming off of him. Maybe it's something to do with the Datinseki. He's like chilling. He's like to the representative guy, like, I know we blew up your ship, then I just killed your two guys. But he's like, deep breaths. Come sit, please. We'll be needing you. Interesting. So he sits. Okay, here we go. Wow, those are some large orders that they're issuing. So there's a few different ones. They said that Japan must hand over Irishima. They must relinquish all the Datinseki that they've already extracted from Irishima. And additionally, they must cede Chiba, Kanagawa, and Tokyo areas that could potentially yield Datinseki veins in the coming millennia. And this dude from Japan's like, but that's preposterous. We couldn't possibly accept, is what he's going to say. This guy cuts him off. Straight up, the dude's like, we made it clear. No compromise. If you refuse, we will use force. Not much of a deal. So he's like pushing the like kind of treaty or contract. I know that hand. It's got the band, just the metal band, and then the beads. That is Shiba right there. That's for sure. It's Shiba. Oh yes. Okay. So when they were referring earlier in the chapter, so this makes a lot more sense. This makes so much more sense. Because earlier in the chapter, they're like, we've made sure to send our like best defense force, our strongest guys. And I'm like, these two dudes with the swords, like, what about Shiba? Like, we know Shiba he's goated. And especially at this time, prior to Enchanted Blades, Shiba is an absolute monster. Azumi probably is too, but because we know that he excelled in the war as well. But he's not here. We saw him in like the flashback of when Kunoshige, Shiba, Chiaki, and him were like all playing with the ball in the street. So he's around. But anyways, okay. So 4 sorcerers were aboard the spirit energy armored ship, the Haruma, the one that got destroyed. Hiroto Soga. Okay, so we got someone from the Soga clan. Looks to be the first guy. We're going from like right to left, it looks like. So Hiroto Soga, Togo Shiba, our boy. He says, go home, please. We've got Yoshinojo Soga, another Soga. All right, and then we got Shuji Mashiro, which we already knew Mashiro. Okay, we got our 4 dudes here. Pulling up to... yeah, dude, they look sick. Okay, both of the Soga guys have really, really cool designs. We got like kind of the more serious looking emo guy, but then we got the crazy looking uncle with the crazy slashed eyebrows, and he's got the crazy goatee going on. Oh, this is a sick double page spread here. So we've got at 12:02, the talks dissolved due to a preemptive strike by Shokoku. Thus, the battle on Irishima begins. Okay, just we're going in. We're going in. So we've got both Hiroto and Yoshinojo. So they're both to the ends of the table. They both are carrying swords. And then we've got Shiba and Mashiro that are next to the Japanese representative, like by the couch. But the dude from Shokoku, the Mikaboshi guy, he is chilling. And like I would still assume that amongst their ranks, the guy that's sitting on like the chair, like the old dude with the beard sitting on the chair, I'm assuming that he is the leader, but this guy might be like the kind of like preemptive general of the forces of Shokoku. Wow. Okay, so that wasn't a negotiation because this is the end of the chapter. Great chapter, but this is the kickoff to the war, the battle on Irishima. That's crazy. But this guy's chilling. He's just hanging out. The Mikaboshi guy, he's just chilling on the couch. And at this point right now, if they're able to wield Datenseki, and that gives them an astronomical advantage over the traditional sorcery of all of our guys. Even the Soga. I'm assuming the guys from the Soga clan are legit. I'm assuming they are very, very strong. But I mean, we know the only one out of these three that we know survives is Shiba. That's it. So everybody else, we don't see Mashiro in the current story unless I am mistaken. So this might not go very well because this is the smallest yet strongest squad selected by the Sorcery Bureau. Wow, so it's about to get popping. So we apparently have what would appear to be 4 combatants from Shokoku, plus I'm going to call him the general right now, which I'm assuming he is like probably the strongest combatant. And then we have like their leader, clan leader guy, which I don't know if he gets down like that, if he's got hands or not, but we'll have to wait and see. Because right now it's a 4v5 if we're not including the old guy. Wow, this was a great chapter. This is very cool because I didn't know where Hokazono was going with the residents from Shokoku. I didn't know if he was going for like a undersea civilization of humanity that but like wasn't connected to any way to Japan, or some other creature that's not even human, like looks humanoid but is not. But he is going for a really cool, at least in my opinion, I like this angle. This clan that was seemingly eradicated, but was also, even if they weren't eradicated, those early members of the Mikaboshi clan, they got drove from their country. They may have been terrible people, but they got drove from their country into the sea, which, how did they even survive in the first place before finding the Datenseki? That's kind of like my question, is how did they find it? And how did they create a civilization off of it? Don't know if we're going to get those answers, but honestly, I love this direction for it because it makes it feel more personal from the side of Shokoku. And even more personal for the members of the Soga clan, because it's like an ancient blood feud between them. So this was a great chapter. Obviously, I'm thinking some battles are about to pop off. So I don't know if we're going to stick here with the battle on Irishima or if we're going to cut back to Kunishige learning or working on the Enchanted Blades with Subaru. I don't really know. But I loved this chapter. I'd love to know what you guys kind of thought about it down below. What are your thoughts, theories? if you like the direction that Hokuzono is taking with Shokoku. But yeah, thank you for being here for this exploration. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm super happy to be back on Kagurabachi weekly, staying on top of it, and just growing the community online for this fantastic series. So hope you guys are all having a great day or night wherever you're at, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.